Wait, before you listen to this episode, I just had to tell you about our new free mini wealth building training. In this training, we're covering the first steps to building wealth, how to find your personalized wealth path, how to find and analyze deals, and then some. So don't miss out on this free training. I mean, what do you have to lose? It's free. Sign up at www.abundantculture.co/newsletter. Don't let delay get in the way of your abundant year. Now, back to the episode. Welcome back to Abundant Culture Podcast,
where we dissect the mindsets and tactics of the true beasts of business.
People like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and Warren Buffett.
All to create a blueprint to experience life more abundantly.
Hi, John, and thank you again for coming on to the Abundant Culture Podcast. We are super excited to have you today because, as I was just telling you, I absolutely love your content on Instagram. I'm a huge fan, and then we heard another interview you did, and we were like, yeah, we have to have him on today. But before we get into all the work and projects that you do, we have to ask you, what is your backstory? How'd you get into business?
Sure. So I've always been pretty much a geek guy, kind of a nerd, kind of introverted, but what really helped me kind of break into this industry and just, being a web designer and just a digital marketing guy was WordPress. So WordPress, as a lot of people know, is a content management system. I started building sites when I was around 19. And I realized that I could take these ideas that I had and make them into something tangible, something real, using the internet. And it was crazy, man. It's almost like a revelation, right? When you realize that you can take these things that you have in your mind and using the internet without even a ton of capital, you can build out these projects and really develop your ideas. And so I started out, man, it's crazy. I went to school for public communications. I got the degree right there, which I still don't fully understand what it entails. But ultimately for me, it was kind of breaking out of that introverted space and just being around people, learning to communicate effectively. And I feel like that all started when I started working at the bank. So I started out as a teller. I was around 19, 20. I was still going to school trying to finish up. And I ended up getting a job at the bank, and I worked there for a few years and moved up to being a personal banker, which really helped me kind of get more interpersonal skills. And once I did that, it was then I realized I wanted to be in marketing and I wanted to be a copywriter. Now, copywriter is kind of like an old skill set because it's the guys that write the ads, the men and women that write the ads in magazines and billboards. That's what I wanted to do. So I would cut out ads and make my own portfolio. And then I went to the bank headquarters. I was like, listen, I would love to work in the marketing department. They took me into a few meetings, but ultimately they were like, nah, we're not really messing with you like that. You don't really have the skill set to do it yet. So I was reading books. I was learning as much as I could. And I ended up taking 2 internships. And I'm in South Florida. So one of those internships was called Allied Marketing, where it was pretty dope. We actually got to promote movies when they came out. So for example, when American Gangster came out, with Denzel, we were able to get these posters and we were able to showcase and provide little things that people could get to watch the movie. So it taught me a lot of fundamental advertising skills. And while I was doing those internships, while I was working there, I was trying to get into the advertising side. And then I finally landed a job at this small agency called Herman Advertising in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And there was where I was really able to thrive. And I always tell people that are aspiring entrepreneurs or that want to work for themselves, never get discouraged working for someone else. It helps you develop your skill set. And essentially you get paid to learn and develop your skills, right? So it's one of those things where I was working there and I was learning and absorbing, and they're paying for all this education for things for you to do. And we ended up doing Facebook ads. We ended up doing all these really cool, innovative things. And with building a website, that's what I was really excited about, that and then tying that into digital strategy. So I spent about 4 years there. All I did in the beginning was social media and HTML. Like, that was my main job. And then I started to move up through the ranks, ended up becoming marketing director and overseeing a small marketing team. And it was super dope because I got to learn a lot in that process. And the CEO just taught me so much. And so towards the tail end of that agency, we were dealing with primarily automotive clients. So our clients were like Land Rover, Range Rover, at the manufacturer level, at the dealership level. So I got to deal with all these cool dealership people and learn, but I felt kind of pigeonholed being in just the automotive space. And I wanted to branch out and try different things in marketing. So 6 years ago, I launched 54 Digital, which is a completely remote marketing agency. And fast forward to today, that's where I'm at. As you can see, I'm in the home office. My entire team is remote. So we get to vibe from anywhere in the world. And it's just been an amazing experience because it allows me to, one, spend more time with my wife and son. It allows me to work on cool side projects and additional revenue streams and really thrive and develop this agency. So I know that was a mouthful. I hope I got the point across, but that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a really awesome and inspiring story. And I like the point that you made about not being discouraged to work for someone else as an entrepreneur to, gain those skills and things of that nature. Because I think, working for somebody else is kind of demonized, starting to be demonized now. And it's like,
crazy.
At the end of the day, I mean, one, money is money. And I feel like if you get to make money doing what you like to do, I don't think it matters too much whether you work for yourself or work for somebody else, because you're enjoying yourself and you're getting paid to enjoy yourself. So
Exactly.
that's like really key. And then two, like, as a young person, especially, nobody believes in your skill set, because even if you have it, you're young. People don't think you know what you're talking about anyway. So having that, couple years under your belt saying, I work for this agency, being able to have a track record of somebody else paying you to do that work. When you go out on your own, you can already say, I've been paid to do this, as opposed to just starting day one as an entrepreneur. And, somebody asks you, well, what have you done with other clients? Well, I haven't had other clients, but you got clients when you were at your job. So I think that was really, really key.
Yeah. Using
Thank
that
you.
leverage.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that your whole team is like, you have a home office and your whole team is not within your office. So let's start getting into like the SOP side of things. What are some of the must-dos when creating an SOP, like when someone is outsourcing work or like hiring a VA?
That's a great question, Jasmine. And so when it comes to SOPs, and for those listening wondering what SOPs are, they're standard operating procedures. So they're tasks and step-by-step directions on how to perform specific tasks within your business. And in hiring folks, in developing and building your team, it's important to set those boundaries and that criteria up before you even hire anyone, and start to define the different roles. So it sounds like, we're about to go into something super boring, but I'm telling you, like, SOPs are something that can help you really build your business and be able to work on multiple things efficiently while building out your processes. And one book I would recommend, actually there's a couple, two books. One is The E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber. That's a great read. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, which every entrepreneur has pretty much read. But ultimately, starting out building your SOPs, it's simple, right? All you need to do is literally list out the specific tasks within your business step by step. So one thing we do, let's see, I'm looking around. For example, we're working on our website now. We're doing the search engine optimization, the SEO for the site, right? So what do? I make a step-by-step direction on what we need. Step one, we need to do keyword research. So here's the specific steps on how to do that. One, log into semrush.com. Two, put the specific keyword in the search, like very definitive directions. So you want to break it down so much that you can hand this to someone that just got a laptop and they can go ahead and perform the tasks. And the main reason you're doing that is you'll be creating almost a database of how your business runs. And when you can do that, now you can delegate these specific tasks to people that you can hire. So in another example, in creating a blog, right? We're coming up with blog ideas and writing blogs. Like most people that own the blog, they're running the business. They can't write every single blog. But what they can do is they can come up with the title. They can come up with maybe 5 to 10 keywords, and they can come up with maybe 3 or 4 example articles that the potential writer could use. So now that writer can go in, they know exactly what keywords to use. They know exactly how to structure that blog. So the more you can empower your potential staff and the more you can document your process, the easier it is to delegate, and then just almost from a project manager perspective, look at everything as a whole and make sure that it's working efficiently.
That's really awesome. I didn't even know you could outsource blog posts, honestly. I
Yeah,
thought
me
that was
neither.
something that had to come
Oh
from
man,
you.
you could do, and that's the thing. Like it's to the point now where it comes down to, as a business owner, you creating these efficiencies, and the more like you can take super elaborate tasks and break them down into separate steps, and then anyone can execute it. But then the big part is going in and making sure that everything is getting done, and then being able to make it even more efficient than it was. So if you see, like, for example, you have a virtual assistant, and they're like, well, I had a question about this, or I ran into this issue. Now I go back into the SOP and I update it accordingly. So it just helps you take away from the daily tasks that take up a lot of time, so you can focus on big picture of your business and really build and develop your business as a whole.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, so we just hired our first VA a couple of weeks ago, and it was like so exciting because now I finally don't have to edit the podcast anymore.
Yeah.
It's great, right? And
It is.
the good thing about it too is, like, you're creating like this database of all the things that run your business. So potentially you grow to a certain extent. Companies could be like, yo, we want to buy you out. If you're like, hey, I have this entire repository of all of our standard operating procedures, we make X amount of dollars per month. Now they're going to look at this as, oh, this is a viable business. I can just take over, and I don't have to start creating all of these things within it.
Yeah. And I think that's really key too, because we're in the private equity space and we're looking at like buying companies and different things of that nature. And that's always a lot of people's main concern is like, how do you buy a company that you don't have a previous expertise in? And what I tell people is it really depends on the structure that's already in place, and also those SOPs, those standard operating procedures, because if they have those down pat, it doesn't really, you could be like an 18-year-old kid right out of high school. As long as you could read,
Exactly.
you'll be at least most of the way there for the most part.
I'm glad you said that, Joe, because if you look like the E-Myth, Michael E. Gerber, the author, he talks a lot about Roy Kroc. And Roy Kroc is, or Ray Kroc, is the founder of McDonald's.
Yep.
And he talked about SOPs to the point where he had a 75-page book on how to build like a hamburger, or how to run these efficiencies within the business. So now, like you said, you can hire someone young that doesn't have a lot of experience, and they walk through the process and everything is systematized. So now you can franchise. And that's why one of the reasons McDonald's is one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Absolutely. Another thing I kind of wanted to touch on, since you have this marketing background, is what is your process for marketing anything? Because we see a lot of the content that you post on social media, whether it be Instagram. I think you have a Facebook. Well, I see a lot of your stuff on Instagram mainly though. What do you usually, like, everybody has this special process that they use, and I was just wondering, what is your process from start to finish from marketing either an idea, a product, or a service?
So I like to look at one, I ask my audience. That's the first thing, because I think an issue that people run into a lot is they build these products or they build these platforms, but they haven't tested the market and they haven't done the due diligence to find out if this is something that the world wants. Because you can think as an individual, yo, this idea is hot, this is going to blow. You put it out there and it's a flop. And it's happened to me before. I've launched ideas where I've literally thought it was the best thing smoking, and then it was a flop. So what I've learned in that case is, and here's the thing, people think, oh, well, I don't have an audience. I don't have a ton of people I could talk to. You can always leverage an audience. You can go on Facebook groups and ask questions. As long as you're providing value and you're not just trying to pull from people, if you genuinely go into a group and say, hey, I have this idea, what are your thoughts? People will give you their honest opinion. So I always like to do the due diligence of finding out if this is a product that people want and need. And in one example, blackillustrations.com, I'm a web designer, and I saw in the space that there just weren't a lot of illustrations featuring Black people, people of color. It was mostly just, white folks, which the illustrations look amazing. And I've seen some and quality work, but there just wasn't a lot of diversity.
Yeah.
And so I went to some other web designers, like, what do you guys think about this? And they were like, yeah, it's a great idea. And I was like, okay. And it was just a really quick Google form. You can send out a 5-question questionnaire saying, hey, what do you think about this idea? What would you suggest? What's your email? Can I contact you later? Just very simple, brief. If you want to do a form, or you can do a Facebook group type of thing. So did that and then launched it. And right now we're at about 40,000 downloads, and we launched in April. So it's done really well in regards to market penetration and really helping people find that content that they wanted. So I always say, one, ask your audience. That's the first thing.
Yep.
Secondly, look at where your competitors are focusing their efforts. So look at the top people in the space. And if a lot of their audience is on Facebook, or if they're on Instagram, or wherever they are, that's where you need to be. So for me, Instagram and Facebook is where my audience resides. I've just really started to get into Twitter about the last 3 or 4 months. So I always recommend for someone, even if they're starting out or if they're at the at the point where they're growing, focus on 1 to 2 platforms at max. Don't try and spread yourself too thin, and then use the research that you have looking at competitors and stay where they are. And the last piece is just essentially it's a competitive analysis. Again, looking at the content that resonates the best. One thing that works well on Instagram are carousels. Instagram carousels where they have like text and you scroll through and cycle through. It's almost like a mini blog.
Yeah.
That does really, really well. So I talked to the design team. I was like, listen, these are the ideas that I have. I put them in the spreadsheet, and then the design team will design them, lay them out, and then we'll get them posted on the page. And so those are kind of 3 things that I recommend folks do if they're looking to launch a product or launch an idea, is to really get feedback and leverage that into your advantage.
And when it comes to content marketing, one thing I always kind of wonder is, should there be kind of like a call to action in each piece of content, or how do you structure, all right, I'm providing value, but there's also another product or service that I can offer, and kind of shed light on when should you shed light on that, and should it be in every piece of content or every 10 pieces of content? Like, how do you actually?
I recommend, so you don't have to push a call to action in every post, essentially when it comes to social media, because you're establishing yourself as a thought leader, you're establishing yourself as a person that knows what they're doing, and you're building brand advocate.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to push in each one. I say 1 out of 5 messages. You want to have some type of call to action. You definitely want to have a link in your bio, or a link to some type of email opt-in or lead magnet, something to drive people. That way, they're leveraging your content, but then you're also getting an additional way to contact them and communicate with them after the fact. So for me, I usually do, 4 or 5 posts on Instagram, and then I might do like an Instagram story pushing like a course or some type of product or a video. But ultimately, I always tell people to focus on just giving value without necessarily, it's not anything in return, but more so just giving as much value as you can.
Yeah.
And then pushing maybe 1 out of 5 messages, call to action.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So tell us, how did you build the Black Wallet and your Facebook community?
With Black Wallet, it really started as just a blog. We were posting financial literacy content. I would look at some of the top performing articles of other financial websites, and we would essentially take that content, rewrite, we never copied content from other sites, but we would take essentially the overall idea and create content based on our audience. And then when we started to do that, we started to build momentum for content. I figured we need to open up a Facebook group so we can communicate in real time with our Black Wallet community. So I did some research. I looked at the name Financial Literacy Tips. I felt like that was a good name, a good title, something that people would search on Google or Facebook. And so when I launched the Facebook group, I didn't really worry about the numbers. I worried about, how can we really get in touch with our audience and get their feedback. And so each day I just posted either an article or we posted a poll, which polls always perform well in groups. And it's a great way to get quick, efficient feedback. And then I just posted links to our articles, and it just grew organically. And then on the website, we added, you'll join our community. We added it in the footer. We added it on the Facebook page. So we were trying to push people into this Facebook group and this community. And then we just posted content that was relevant to them each day. And now the great thing about building that group is it gave us almost like a close-knit, like text group. So if we had any ideas for blogs, I come up with 3 or 4 ideas, I throw them in there and let people vote. We create polls and different things. So we were really leveraging the community to make something that they wanted. And then it just started to grow organically. I don't think we didn't do any paid ads for the group. It just started to grow. And then when I was writing the book, I kept the entire group within the process. And that's the big thing. Like, people want to see how everything leads up to where you are, right? They want to see the trials, the tribulations, the ups, downs. They want to see a realistic portrayal of what is going on. Yeah. And so in the book, I put like different titles. I put different cover examples. I put the chapter breakdown. I was like, what do you guys think? What do y'all think? What am I missing? What should I do? And I'm getting all this feedback. Now, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, wow, I'm part of this process and building this book, right? So it's almost like I'm an author too. So now when the book goes live and it goes published and I post it in the group, all these people felt like they were a part of the process. And that's how the book became a bestseller within a few days, because we had already built that audience on the front end. So a few tips for Facebook groups for folks, start out with almost like a keyword string. Don't really have your business name in there. So for example, if you're a real estate investor, you can name the group Real Estate Investment Tips in Florida, something like that, if that's your specific niche. And then in that banner, make sure you have some type of call to action for them to join the group. A lot of people don't realize, but you can offer like a PDF or some type of download or a checklist for them getting inside the group. And then the last piece is you can ask 3 questions before they join a group. Make sure one of those questions is their email address, so that way you can have that for later on. And then the other questions can be where you found us, and then just a question pertaining to the group. And that's a great way to get people in there. Now they're in your email list as well, and now they're part of your brand ecosystem.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And you mentioned that you would always make like different content posts for this group. The question I forgot earlier was on post frequency. Like, I hear some people say they post every couple days and then every day. And then there's people who post once a week. And then like what I always really wondered is there a magic number for how much content you should provide for your audience?
There isn't a magic number. It really depends on, it's hard to say. I mean, I would say every day, but I don't do every day. I do on my personal, I'll maybe do 3 or 4 per week, but it's scheduled, right? So it's not really me like going in. So I would say on Instagram, you want to post at least 4 times the least, 7 to 10 times the most. Facebook, you want to post at least 3 or 4 times a week. And a group you can post every day. That helps bring people back into the group. It helps keep it active. It helps keep it engaged. But that's pretty much my tips for that. What I would really do is depend on the analytics. So look at Facebook Insights. Look at, if you're using Sprout Social or Hootsuite, look at the analytics and the post times and see what works really well for your post frequency. Because sometimes you can post too much,
Mm-hmm.
So it's really finding that middle ground contingent on your page and your audience.
Absolutely.
So then in the community, are you like the face of the brand, or are you, do you kind of take like a back seat and just allow the group to kind of have its own brand?
I think it's a combination of both, because in the beginning, I was pretty much the only one in there. So I was posting all the time, there were a few people like commenting and liking stuff. So for the most part, in the beginning, before your group starts to take off, you need to be active and present. But as it starts to grow, you can put an admin in charge of just like approving posts and content. But you still, now here's the thing, as the main admin, when you post, basically everybody in the group sees it because you're the primary admin on the account. So when you post, you get tons of eyeballs on your account almost instantly. So it is good to go in there every few days and just post something. But ultimately, as the group grows, you don't have to be in there as active.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
And what are some of your favorite resources in regards to marketing for small business owners? Because a lot of small business owners, they might be the main marketer in their company. So what are some resources that they could use to help take them to the next level in their marketing?
Great question. So there's a few books. Let me look at my library right quick. So one of my favorite books is .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. He's the founder of ClickFunnels. I'm not a huge fan of ClickFunnels, the platform, but his book has tons and tons of tidbits, tips, tricks that you could use. Purple Cow is another book that's great. That one's by Seth Godin. Let me see. 4-Hour Workweek, another one that can teach a lot of fundamentals in marketing, especially in VAs and delegation. Yeah. And then Ecommerce Evolved, if they're doing e-commerce Evolved is a great book. But when it comes to digital resources, there's a few that I've used. One, digitalmarketer.com. They have great courses, great curriculum, and everything: copywriting, SEO, SEM, social media. There's just tons and tons of content. Also, I have an email course that's completely free that people can sign up for on my website. I know you guys will probably have that in the show notes. So I do free lessons every week, and then the YouTube channel as well. And then one of my additional favorite resources, especially on the design and branding front, is The Future, without the E at the end. The founder, his name is Christo. They have a YouTube channel that's just, phenomenal, really, really great, and tons of takeaways for business owners. And that's pretty much it for now. I think, I can make a list as well, but ultimately those are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot. So
another thing I was really wondering is that you create a lot. I mean, a ton of free content, but you have a paid course too, right?
Yes.
So how does somebody who has a paid course, because I also have a paid course, but I haven't started really pushing it yet because I'm still kind of, tweaking things. I'll make a version, put it out, get feedback, and then just go back to the drawing board, and I just keep doing that. And I'm getting ready to be on my third iteration. And what I'm really wondering is when I really start pushing it, I want to push it out with more content than I am doing now, because I should be doing more content now, but I just haven't been yet. So how does somebody know how much do you give away for free? Do you give away everything for free and be like, hey, if you want it more packaged, more polished, here's our course? Or do you keep maybe one or two gold nuggets that is only in the course? How do you weigh the free content, because you make a lot of free content, with the paid content, and how similar that should be?
For me, and a lot of agencies probably won't agree with this, or haven't agreed with me in the past, because I always get people that say, John, you're giving away too much for free. You're giving them all the goods. Why they even need to come to you? Blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is by giving away a lot of these resources, you're empowering other business owners, right? Now they're one of your advocates. They're one of those people that'll be telling their friends. They're at the water cooler. They're on a business trip. They're on vacation. They're telling people, oh, you need a website done? Well, I got a guy, right? And so you're slowly dripping into these people's lives, and they're becoming a brand advocate for your business. And that's why we do zero outreach. All of the business that comes into us is referrals, and we're able to charge a premium because clients know that we can deliver, right? So we don't necessarily have to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
So for me, giving value without necessarily expecting anything back has always been something that worked well. I'm not a sales guy. I've never been a really great sales guy. So for me, selling is creating valuable assets that people can use. Yeah. Now, when it comes to balancing free and paid, it's almost like a balancing act, right? I give away free resources, for example, my email course, or Black illustrations, or YouTube videos, and all that content is things that people can really execute on. It's not like, hey, you need a social media page. It's more like, hey, here's the content strategy behind what works for us. Here's what you can do. And so a lot of these resources that I'm giving away are just snippets of an online course, or a deeper curriculum, or a more detailed process. So for example, with my course, the Web Design Studio Accelerator, that walks you through how to run a web design agency from A to Z. Now, I might take components from that and provide people with, hey, here's my resource list, or hey, here's the process in hiring a virtual assistant or hiring a team member. And so now people are getting kind of an idea, and they know what to do, and they can take that and they can do something with it. And it might get them from A to D, but it won't get them from A to Z, right? Okay. They need to either hire me as a consultant or do that type of thing, but they can still do a lot of these things on their own.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure.
So you also just have a lot of projects and a lot of stuff. So can you walk us through everything that you offer and the projects that you have?
Sure. So at the top is 54 Digital. That's the web design branding agency. So that's almost like at the top, right? That's what pays the bills. That's what compensates the team. That's where we pull in clients. And then right under that, I have my side hustles, which were side hustles and now are businesses, which is kind of wild. But so we have blackwallet.org, which is the financial literacy blog. And the way that that's monetized is we have apparel, we do sponsored posts on Instagram, and then we also have book sales. And then another business is Black Illustrations, which is a platform for people to download illustrations featuring Black people and people of color. And we have free and premium products there. So the great thing about that is the the free products match the level of premium. It's just different types and different types of content. And so that's a standalone. And then I started another business from that because we were getting a lot of inquiries for people that wanted custom illustrations. So we launched illustratorhub.com, which features Black illustrators, profiles, their images. So anytime people come to us and they're like, hey, we need custom illustrations, we just say, hey, check out illustratorhub.com for your needs. And that's not really monetized. I made that more so just to help facilitate these leads that were coming in, just to help other illustrators get work as well. And then the last piece is my personal brand, johnDSaunders.co, which is my courses, my product offerings, and that has free and premium products as well. And so all of these things almost they work together, right? Because everybody is on the same, everyone that's working on these projects is part of the 5-4 digital team. So, you know, people think that, oh man, this guy has so many business, how does he get it all done? It's all working within the same ecosystem. So we all have the same task management system. Everything is broken up into sections, and it works well for us. So I always suggest that people that are starting more than one business, make sure that that business can almost be leveraged from one of your last businesses, so that way it's cyclical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where the SOP comes in handy.
Facts.
So do you outsource majority of the work then, since there's so many projects, and I'm sure like, you know, you probably don't even have enough time in one day to manage all of those businesses at once?
Oh, good question. So for me, I'm really, and I'm coming to this fact now, I'm just a glorified project manager. Like that's pretty much what I do. So I facilitate the tasks that need to go to the design team, that go to the development team. We have a project manager, and she primarily sends out emails. She creates jobs. She schedules different things for team members. So I almost come in as, hey, I like how this looks. Let's change this around. Let's use this. Let's leverage this. So I just make recommendations, and the team fulfills the jobs. And that's pretty much what I am now, you know, a project manager. But I do jump into websites. I do like to do some custom work myself as well. Like right now, I'm working on the SEO for one of our websites, for one of our client websites that are going live. So I still like to be hands-on, but for the most part, I'd say 85% of my job is mostly just making sure that everything's getting done and is up to par with our agency standard.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
So we covered so much in this episode. You gave us so many like resources and golden nuggets, but if somebody could only have one takeaway from this episode, what would that be?
I think it would be, this year is crazy. 2020 has been insane for a lot of us. You know, a lot of people have lost jobs, or they're furloughed, or, you know, they're just contemplating what they want to do next. I say now is the opportunity. If you've been thinking about launching a digital business, a digital product, a website, whatever, it's the time is now. And even if you think you're not that digital savvy, there's guys selling millions of dollars on how to do a handstand in 30 days, right? So I want folks to really think about their skill set, think about what they can give to the world, and then try to think about how you can package that digitally and sell it to your audience, because it's definitely possible.
Absolutely. So you're on the Abundant Culture podcast, so we feel the need to ask this question for everybody who comes on, because we always get really interesting and unique answers. And that question is, whether it be in your personal life, in your business, or even in your spirituality, how do you like to spread abundance?
Oh man, that's a great question. For me, it's really just being able to, like, I get to wake up every day and just work on these fun projects, and so for me, spreading abundance is giving folks the resources to get it done, and that's why I like to create free resources, free blogs, free downloads, free website templates, because I feel like, you know, we might have somebody that thinks that they can't do it, or that they won't be able to achieve the goals that they want, but I feel as though the digital landscape has really leveled the playing field. It's made it a lot easier, especially for people of color, to really connect and create products that the world needs. So for me, spreading abundance is just, you know, spreading value to the world without necessarily looking for anything in return. Just kind of like doing it and enjoying seeing people leverage that content.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Good answer.
So for the person, they think you're awesome, and maybe they just want to like meet you for a cup of coffee. I don't know, you know, if Florida's open yet to do that. But, you know, maybe 2021. Or maybe they want a website design. They want you on their podcast, or maybe they just want to support you and buy like a t-shirt or something. How does that person get into contact with you or your team?
Yeah, absolutely. I am on Instagram. I answer all my DMs. I'm on Instagram at John D. Saunders. You can also join my free email course where every week I give you a new lesson in marketing that you can execute on, and they can grab that at johndsaunders.co. Otherwise, check out our illustrations at blackillustrations.com, and that's it. That's all I got.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciated having you on the Abundant Culture podcast. You did an excellent job answering our questions, and you gave way more value than we could even ask for. So we really appreciate on having you on.
Thank you, guys. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So that's all we have for today, folks. I hope you got as much value out of this as we did. Keep in mind, the only way we can improve is through constructive feedback. So remember to rate and review this episode. Also, you are not the only person that needs to know this super valuable information. So be sure to subscribe and share as well. Stay tuned for the next episode. And remember to always spread abundance. Peace.